We've got Kate Wellham from Live Cinema joining us shortly to talk about her project Surround Stories Lab, which I'm looking forward to hearing more about. I think Kate's here now, so I'll add her to the screen. I believe she's got a presentation that's going to take about 8 or 10 minutes. So if you've got questions, pop them in the chat box and we can pick them up afterwards. And I think Kate's got a little bit to tell us about afterwards. Does that sound right?
That's all correct, yeah. And I have slightly cheated and pre-recorded this, so hopefully it will be a little bit smoother. It's got a lot of videos in it.
Perfect. Sorry, I missed what you said then because my tab was muted, but I'm going to turn myself off the screen and leave you to it. And if you need me, I'll just be in the chat box.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kate.
Founded in 2014, Live Cinema UK has grown to become the country's leading organisation which is dedicated to producing, promoting and researching live cinema events. We're based in West Yorkshire and we curate innovative programmes and new artworks inspired by the moving image. Live Cinema UK produce and support film events which contain a live element or additional activity. And this kind of thing includes, but is not limited to, live soundtracks, interactive tech, theatrical performances, non-traditional venues, and archive film. We collaborate with artists, festivals, venues and cultural organisations in the UK and around the world, and our most recent project, Surround Stories Lab, focuses specifically on Full Dome. Full Dome is as immersive as it gets when it comes to film exhibition. Full Dome is a kind of screen, a type of venue and a medium all at the same time. And when we use the word Full Dome, we could be referring to any of these things. A full dome screen or venue is a hemisphere with a projection all the way around, and the most obvious reference most audiences have to full dome as a venue will be a planetarium. Full dome as a medium and an art form is very different from any other kind of filmmaking, including virtual reality. It's so dependent on the space itself that it requires a totally different way of thinking when it comes to space, time and movement. Aside from planetariums, there are some full domes around the world that exist purely to show and develop cultural rather than science content. The most famous of these is SAT in Montreal, which is a full dome venue, a lab and a community of artists working in the medium. SAT is unusual in the full dome world in that it has total floor-to-ceiling immersion, while portable and planetarium domes usually project around head height and above. One other dome which has this level of immersion is a brand new market hall in Plymouth. It's a stunning space, a redeveloped historic building with this incredible new bit of film exhibition tech right in the middle. We're also very fortunate to have been able to work with Cult VR in Cardiff, who are very unusual in that they are artists, otherwise known as 4Pi Productions, with their own dome equipment. And their dome is a temporary structure inside a warehouse on an industrial estate on the outskirts of town. And they built a cafe and a bar in there, as well as offices inside shipping containers and a couple of smaller domes, as well as motion capture and green screen equipment and lots of other toys. And they've been extremely generous with their time and expertise during this project. Their venue hosts a lot of live music, as well as being a place where people can develop live performance within Full Dome. Another big cultural dome space is Wisdome in Los Angeles, which opened a couple of years ago and which I was lucky enough to visit before the world shut down. It's a collection of different sized domes, with the largest being about 700 standing capacity without social distancing. And the content they show is exactly what you might expect from LA. So lots of new age things like Android Jones's Samskara, gong baths, meditation and yoga sessions, etc. And now for non-cultural spaces like planetariums, who are doing great work in this area. Planetariums are not that common in the UK, and their remit is to show science content first and foremost, so it's difficult for UK artists to get access to these spaces to develop their work. But access is absolutely vital when it comes to making work for these spaces. That's not to say they're not keen to host cultural events, and actually we've found some great examples of planetariums around Europe that happily host cultural screenings, including Glasgow and Edinburgh, and artists in Amsterdam in a zoo. One example we like to use a lot is the Museum of Science in Boston, who found that when they introduced cultural content to their planetarium, it was so commercially successful that it actually subsidises their science content now. And developing work is a different story though, because without being physically in the space, it's extremely difficult for artists to get a feel for the particular effect this kind of space has on audience perceptions of movement, scale and time. That said, there is a new piece of software called Festoon, which helps you to view work in a virtual full dome space on desktop or in VR, so that's always an option. But again, the fact that a specific piece of software had to be developed for this purpose just goes to show how important it is to give access to that kind of space. The dome shape of a full dome venue or screen is what's initially distinctive about it, but actually when it's being used by an artist, the dome can completely disappear and become an image that seems like it's either inches away from the audience or it can be as vast as outer space. There's a lot of what we affectionately call moving geometry in the full dome film world because artists like to play with the dome shape and the sense of movement that the immersion provides, which can be done with relatively simple animation. It's also possible to use 360-degree footage in a dome to create narrative film, as well as bringing virtual reality and interactivity. And the dome can also be used as an environment or scenography as a backdrop for live performance. And we saw a lot of these different types of content at the recent Full Dome UK Festival, which took place at Market Hall in Plymouth a couple of weeks ago. The Full Dome is something Live Cinema UK is particularly interested in because of the potential to mix on-screen and live activity in so many different ways. We've been lucky enough to have the support of XR Stories, a funding programme based out of the University of York, and this has allowed us to do a few things we think are really important in advancing the full dome medium in the UK in several different ways. The first is bringing new artists into the full dome space, and this is a medium so versatile that it can host virtual reality, narrative film, animation, live performance, interactive art, immersive audio, and a whole load of things we haven't even touched on yet. And at the same time, it's a space that's very underused because artists who aren't already in the full dome world have likely never even been to or seen one of these spaces, let alone had a chance to play in one and create work for one, or been shown how their work could translate to a medium like this. Through workshops, funding and distribution, we're bringing new artists' work into full dome. The illustration here is a piece called Conversation Playground with animation which responds in real time to whatever audio is happening in the space. So it's perfect for pairing with live music, for example, or for live events involving conversation, which is exactly what it was originally envisaged for. We're also working with an artist called Kitoko Diva, who's created a piece called The Black Man in the Cosmos, which was developed with IDFA in Amsterdam and their planetarium there. And we've worked with one of our regular artists, DJ Yoda, to bring his AV shows into a dome. He's done 2 shows in Cardiff so far, where he's mixed his own visuals live with the team from 4Pi. One of the best things about working full dome right now is a sheer goodwill, enthusiasm and collaboration that's going on among everyone currently involved in the medium. So genuinely, I've never known anything like this level of generosity and openness in any creative scene before, and it's for very good reason. Artists and audiences are yet to flock to full dome in any great numbers. Most people probably don't even know it exists outside a science context, so there's a need for those of us who are working in this area to club together and do what needs to be done to get the information out there. Whether that's information about tech, funding, resources, new work, exhibition opportunities, or anything else that can help develop audiences, venues and practitioners in any way at all. So part of our work has been to create and administrate the Full Dome Creative Network, which is an organisation comprising venues, distributors, academics, artists and event professionals, all working full dome in the UK and Europe. Among our members are Cult VR, the Market Hall, artists, Full Dome UK and IDFA, and between us we're sharing knowledge and opportunities and coordinating our activities to help promote the medium. Ultimately, Live Cinema UK's ambition with this project in the long term is to bring together the technical expertise, talent and resources to develop new full dome art created by people who would never otherwise have considered going into this medium, and to be one of only a handful of labs in the world where this happens. So with that in mind, we're working towards opening a full dome venue in Yorkshire along the lines of Cult VR in Cardiff. If and when that happens, and I should say when really, there will be a UK touring circuit of 3 cultural full dome venues, so we can collectively programme and promote the UK's full dome offer between ourselves, Market Hall and Cardiff, and hopefully a big push towards getting the UK known for producing incredible full dome art, no matter what those new full dome artists are currently working on right now, and whether they've even been inside a full dome. And that is our ambition.
Fab. Thank you, Kate. Sorry for rattling the patchy internet. We got there in the end.
One other thing to add to that is that one piece that, with an artist we're working with, called Michaela French. Her piece In Here Out There, which is based on audience collective breath and responsive visuals, has just made it to IDFA Forum in Amsterdam, and there's only 13 immersive projects that have made it there, so we're really excited about that.
Oh, that's fab. I was just thinking, when I was watching it, I was like, the experience is so great. I don't know, because we went to them when we were kids as well, if it like sort of brings back some nostalgia or something. It's just such a like warm and fuzzy feeling going into them. I was like, I could have so much fun in these. Like, they have them. I'd like the DJ Yoda one. I think I would have enjoyed that.
It was so much fun. It was so much fun.
Have you got any other exciting events up your sleeve?
I mean, we're just looking forward to getting back into the Dome with the artists, because it's been such a long time. You know, we've had to put this project on hold. There are artists who were going to showcase who haven't been able to showcase in front of a live audience yet. So as soon as that happens, we will let you know. And I'm just going to put my email address actually in the chat in case anybody does want to find out more.
And just remind me, do you have your own dome, or do you?
We don't yet.
Produce the content.
So part of the project, the Surround Stories project that we're working on, is to try and get one in Yorkshire. So we found a space, and it's getting the funding and the space together. We've had one before and not the other, and then so we had the funding and not the space, and we found the space and the funding had gone. So we're working on that, and fingers crossed next year.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, you need quite a big space to put a full dome in.
Yeah, they're so high. You need a clearance of 8 to 10 meters, high, which not many buildings have. But if anybody is near Plymouth and can get to the market hall to have a look at that space, I would massively recommend it, because it is incredible.
I spoke to them briefly before at the start of the process of these. It would have been great to get a dome with a few different pieces of content in there. Maybe next year.
Yeah, next year.
Or a creative dome tour of the country. Door tome. But thanks, Kate. I think we've got your details in the chat here, so people can connect with you if they click on your name. I'm just looking at what I've typed in there, and they can also visit the booth where there's more links and stuff to your work, and hopefully we'll all be in the dome soon.
Ace, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about that.
Thanks very much. See you soon.
See ya.
Bye.